Commander Jake Mitchell sat at his desk in the quiet communication room of Deep Space Station Omega. It was another normal night shift. He was looking through the usual sensor reports when Lieutenant Amy Brooks ran into the room. Her face looked scared and worried. She held a small computer tablet in her shaking hands. "Sir, you need to see this right now," Amy said. Her voice was shaky. "We picked up something from the edge of our solar system. It's not from Earth." Jake took the tablet from her hands. The screen showed lines of strange symbols and numbers. It looked like some kind of code. "What is this?" he asked. "It's an alien message, sir. Paul Davis from the code-breaking team worked on it all night. He finally figured out what it says." Amy's hands were still shaking. "Sir, it's really bad news." Jake called Paul Davis to the communication room. Paul was a thin man with thick glasses who was very good at solving codes and puzzles. When Paul arrived, he looked tired, but excited. "Commander, this message is from something called the Zephyrian Empire," Paul explained. "They're a huge group of aliens who control many star systems across the galaxy. From what I can understand, they've been conquering planets for hundreds of years." Jake felt his stomach drop. "What do they want with us?" Paul looked at his notes. "Sir, they're coming to take over Earth. They think we're just a primitive planet with simple technology. They don't expect us to fight back at all. The message talks about how easy it will be to defeat us." Amy stepped forward. "There's more, sir. According to the message, they have a massive fleet of warships heading our way. Hundreds of ships, all armed with advanced weapons." Jake stood up quickly. This was the worst news possible. Earth had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they knew the answer, and those aliens wanted to conquer their home planet. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. Paul checked his calculations again. "Based on the star positions mentioned in the message and some travel time estimates, I think we have about 6 months before they reach Earth." 6 months. Jake's mind raced. Most people on Earth had no idea that aliens even existed, let alone that they were about to be invaded. But Jake knew something that the aliens didn't know. Earth wasn't as helpless as they thought. For the past 20 years, Jake had worked with a secret military project. Dr. Lisa Martinez led a team of scientists who had been developing new weapons and defense systems. They called it the Terra Defense Project. The government kept it completely secret from the public. Dr. Martinez had created amazing new technologies. She had built energy shields that could protect entire cities. Her team had also developed powerful plasma weapons that could destroy large spaceships, but they had always thought these weapons might be needed for future threats, not for an invasion that was only 6 months away. Jake immediately called General Roy Carter at Earth Defense Command. General Carter was a tough old soldier who had been preparing for threats like this his whole career. "General, we have a situation," Jake said over the secure phone line. "We need an emergency meeting with all the world leaders. The alien invasion we've been preparing for is actually happening." General Carter was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'll contact President Helen Walsh right away. How much time does we have?" 6 months, sir." 6 months, General Carter repeated. "That's not much time to prepare the entire planet for war." Within 12 hours, world leaders from every major country met in a secret underground facility. President Helen Walsh sat at the head of a large table. Around her were presidents, prime ministers, and military commanders from around the world. Jake stood before all of these powerful people and explained what they had discovered. He showed them the alien message and Paul's translation. The room was completely silent as they listened. "So you're telling us that aliens are real, they're coming to conquer Earth, and we have 6 months to get ready?" asked the president of Russia. "Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm telling you," Jake replied. President Walsh looked around the room. "This changes everything. General Carter, what do you recommend?" General Carter stood up. "Madam President, I recommend we activate Protocol 7 immediately." Protocol 7 was Earth's most secret defense plan. Only a few dozen people in the world knew it existed. It was designed for exactly this situation, an alien invasion of Earth. "Protocol 7 is authorized," President Walsh announced. General, Carter, you have unlimited resources. Do whatever it takes to defend our planet. The meeting continued for hours. They made plans to build weapons, train soldiers, and prepare defenses all around the world. But they all agreed on one important thing. They would keep this secret from the general public for now. They didn't want to cause panic until they were ready. As Jake flew back to Deep Space Station Omega, he thought about what was coming. The aliens thought Earth would be an easy target. They expected to find a weak planet full of primitive humans who would surrender without a fight. But the aliens had made one big mistake. They had sent their invasion plans ahead of their invasion fleet. That one intercepted message had given humanity something that no other conquered planet had ever had. Advance warning. Jake smiled grimly as he looked out at the stars. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that humans were much more dangerous than they appeared. Earth was going to be ready for them. The next 6 months would change everything. Humanity was about to fight its first war among the stars, and they planned to win. 3 days after the secret meeting, the world began to change in ways most people couldn't see. In cities around the globe, construction crews started working on mysterious projects. They worked day and night, but no one could explain what they were building. Captain Steve Johnson stood on the roof of a satellite control center in Colorado. He looked up at the large dish antennas that normally sent TV signals and internet data around the world, but now his team was changing them into something completely different. "How's the conversion going, Martinez?" Steve asked his chief engineer. "Better than expected, sir," replied Rodriguez Martinez, a young woman with oil stains on her uniform. "We've successfully turned 12 satellites into weapon platforms. Each one can fire powerful energy beams at targets in space." Steve nodded with satisfaction. The aliens would expect Earth satellites to be harmless communication devices. They would be very surprised when those same satellites started shooting at them. Across the country in a secret underground facility, engineer Kate Williams worked frantically with her team. They were in a huge factory that didn't exist on any official maps. The factory was built deep underground, hidden from spy satellites and curious reporters. "We need to build shield generators faster," Kate shouted over the noise of machines. "Dr. Martinez says we need at least 50 units to protect all the major cities." Her assistant, Bob Chen, wiped sweat from his forehead. "Kate, we're already working 24 hours a day. The workers are exhausted." Kate looked at the production line where hundreds of people were assembling the shield generators. These devices would create invisible energy barriers around entire cities. When the alien weapons fired at Earth, the shields would protect millions of people. "I know everyone is tired," Kate said. "But if we don't finish these shields in time, there won't be any cities left to protect." In another part of the world, aerospace engineer Dan Clark supervised humanity's most ambitious project. In a massive shipyard hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, workers were building Earth's first real space warships. Dan stood on a platform overlooking the construction area. Below him, thousands of workers crawled over the hull of a ship that was larger than anything humans had ever built before. The ship was sleek and powerful, designed for space combat. "Sir, the first ship is almost ready for testing," reported his supervisor Carol White. "We've installed the new plasma cannons and the advanced engines." Dan smiled. "How does it compare to the alien ships from the intercepted data?" Carol checked her tablet. "Our ships are smaller than theirs, but much faster. We've also added some special features they won't expect. Each ship can split into 3 smaller vessels for surprise attacks." Meanwhile, far out in space, Commander Julie Adams was building secret bases on asteroids. She and her team traveled in small, quiet spaceships to avoid detection. They were turning chunks of rock floating in space into hidden military bases. "This asteroid is perfect," Julie told her team as they explored a large rock between Mars and Jupiter. "It's big enough for a weapons platform and a supply depot." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Gary Brown, pointed at his scanner. "Commander, this asteroid has lots of iron and other metals. We can mine materials and build more weapons right here." Julie nodded. "Excellent. The aliens will think they're just flying past harmless rocks. They won't know that each asteroid is actually a fortress waiting to attack them." Back on Earth, General Roy Carter was coordinating all these secret projects from his command center. He had giant screens showing construction progress around the world. Red dots showed weapon installations, blue dots showed shield generators, and green dots showed the hidden space bases. "General, we have a problem," announced Major Susan Davis, his intelligence officer. "Some people are starting to ask questions about all the construction projects." General Carter frowned. "What kind of questions?" "News reporters are wondering why the government is building so many underground facilities. Some citizens are posting photos of the construction sites on social media." This was exactly what General Carter had been afraid of. If the public learned about the alien invasion too soon, it would cause panic. People might do crazy things or try to leave Earth, which would make defending the planet much harder. "Contact President Walsh," General Carter ordered. "We need to decide how much to tell the public." That evening, President Helen Walsh met with her closest advisors. They sat in the secure Situation Room deep beneath the White House. "The secret is getting harder to keep," the president said. "Our construction projects are too big to hide completely." Secretary of Defense Frank Miller looked worried. "If we tell people about the aliens, some will panic. Others might not believe us." "President," Walsh thought for a moment, "what if we tell them partially? We could say we're upgrading our defenses because of new security threats without mentioning aliens specifically." The next day, President Walsh appeared on television. She spoke to the entire nation from the Oval Office. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," she began. "Recent intelligence has revealed new threats to global security. We are taking steps to strengthen our defenses and protect our way of life." She didn't mention aliens, but she asked for everyone's cooperation with the new construction projects. She also announced that all young adults would receive special training in emergency procedures. Around the world, similar announcements were made by other leaders. People were curious, and some were worried, but most trusted their governments to handle whatever the threat was. In space, the Zephyrian fleet continued moving toward Earth. Admiral Zexhai was confident that his 300 warships would easily conquer the primitive human planet. He had no idea that Earth was becoming the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked day and night in her laboratory, improving the weapons and shields. She had created technologies that were more advanced than anything on Earth, but she wondered if it would be enough. "Jake," she said to Commander Mitchell during one of his visits, "do you really think we can win?" Jake looked out at the stars through the laboratory window. "Lisa, those aliens made one big mistake. They told us they were coming. No other planet they conquered had 6 months to prepare. We're going to show them what humans can do when we have time to get ready." The preparation continued. Earth was transforming from a peaceful planet into a fortress ready for war. 6 months later, Admiral Zexhai stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Dark Conqueror. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Zephyrians, had been conquering planets for over 500 years. Earth would be just another easy victory. "Admiral, we are arriving at the human star system," reported his navigation officer, Commander Yekstar. Admiral Zexhai looked at the main screen showing Earth's solar system. "Excellent. Begin standard invasion formation. This primitive species won't even know what hit them." His fleet of 300 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Each ship was enormous, the size of a small city. They carried thousands of soldiers and enough firepower to destroy entire planets. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual readings," said the sensor operator, Lieutenant HFY. "There appear to be artificial structures throughout this system." Admiral Zexhai frowned. "Artificial structures? These humans barely have space travel." "You must be mistaken." But Lieutenant HFY was not mistaken. Hidden on asteroids throughout the solar system, Commander Julie Adams and her teams watched the alien fleet arrive. Julie sat in the command center of Asteroid Base Alpha, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. "All units, this is Commander Adams," she spoke into her communication device. "The aliens have arrived. Wait for my signal." On asteroid bases spread across the solar system, human soldiers prepared their weapons. These bases looked like ordinary rocks from the outside, but inside they were filled with powerful plasma cannons and missile launchers. Admiral Zexhai ordered his fleet to move toward Earth. These humans will surrender when they see our mighty ships. We've done this hundreds of times before. But as the Zephyrian fleet moved deeper into the solar system, something unexpected happened. Asteroid Base 7, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Torres, opened fire first. "Fire all weapons," Mike shouted. Suddenly, what looked like an ordinary asteroid began shooting powerful energy beams at the alien ships. The beams were so bright, they lit up space like lightning. 3 Zephyrian ships exploded immediately. "What was that?" Admiral Zexhai demanded. "Where did those weapons come from?" Before anyone could answer, more asteroids began shooting. Asteroid Base 4, commanded by Captain Rick Stone, launched a barrage of missiles. Asteroid Base 9 started firing plasma cannons. All across the solar system, hidden human bases revealed themselves and attacked. "Sir, we're under attack from multiple positions," Lieutenant Kexavai shouted. "I count at least 20 weapon platforms." Admiral Zexhai couldn't believe what he was seeing. The intelligence report said humans were primitive. They weren't supposed to have weapons like this. "Return fire. Destroy those asteroids," he ordered. The Zephyrian ships began shooting back, but the humans had planned for this. The asteroid bases were heavily armored and well hidden. When the aliens fired at them, most of the energy beams missed or bounced off the rock surfaces. Meanwhile, on Earth, Colonel Nancy Green watched the battle from the Planetary Defense Center. She was in charge of Earth's main defense systems. Around her, dozens of technicians monitored screens showing the space battle. "Colonel, the asteroid bases are performing perfectly," reported Sergeant Bill Watson. "They've already destroyed 15 alien ships." Colonel Nancy smiled grimly. "Good. Now let's show them what Earth can do." She pressed a red button on her control panel. "Activate planetary defense grid." Suddenly, the satellites that Captain Steve Johnson had converted into weapons came to life. All around Earth, communication satellites began firing energy beams into space. The beams reached out like giant fingers, striking Zephyrian ships millions of miles away. Admiral Zexhai watched in horror as more of his ships exploded. "How is this possible? These weapons are as advanced as ours." On Earth's surface, the shield generators that Kate Williams had built activated automatically. Giant invisible domes appeared over every major city. When Zephyrian ships tried to bomb the planet, their weapons bounced harmlessly off the energy shields. "Sir, our bombardment of the planet is having no effect," reported Commander Yexstar. "They have some kind of protective barriers." But the biggest surprise was still coming. In the hidden shipyard beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dan Clark had finished building Earth's space fleet. 20 sleek human warships rose from the ocean and flew into space. Captain Alex Turner commanded the lead ship, Earth's Pride. "All ships, this is Captain Turner. Time to show these aliens what human engineering can do." The human ships were smaller than the Zephyrian vessels, but they were much faster and more maneuverable. They darted between the alien ships like angry wasps, firing plasma cannons and launching missiles. "These human ships are too fast," complained a Zephyrian pilot. "I can't get a clear shot." Captain Turner smiled as his ship performed a spinning maneuver that no Zephyrian ship could match. "All ships, execute battle formation Omega." The human ships did something the aliens had never seen before. Each vessel split into 3 smaller ships, tripling the number of human fighters in space. Now there were 60 human ships attacking the Zephyrian fleet from all directions. Admiral Zexhai stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In just 2 hours of fighting, he had lost over 100 ships. The humans were supposed to surrender immediately, but instead they were winning the battle. "Admiral, we should retreat," suggested Commander Yexstar. "We weren't prepared for this level of resistance." "Retreat?" Admiral Zexhai roared. "The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat. We have conquered 500 worlds." But even as he spoke, more Zephyrian ships exploded around him. The asteroid bases continued their deadly fire. The Earth satellites kept shooting. The human warships darted in and out of his formation, destroying ship after ship. Back on Earth, President Helen Walsh watched the battle from the White House Situation Room. General Roy Carter stood beside her, pointing at the tactical displays. "Madam President, our forces are performing beyond all expectations," General Carter reported. "The aliens have lost over half their fleet." President Walsh felt a mixture of pride and relief. Our people did an amazing job preparing for this. In space, the battle continued to rage, but it was clear that the Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had expected to find a helpless planet full of primitive humans. Instead, they had found a fortress world defended by warriors who had been preparing for exactly this moment. The single intercepted message that had warned Earth of the invasion was turning out to be the aliens' greatest mistake and humanity's greatest advantage. The battle had been raging for 3 weeks. Admiral HFY sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the tactical display with growing despair. His mighty fleet of 300 ships had been reduced to fewer than 80. The humans were not just defending themselves, they were winning. "Admiral, we've lost another squadron near the 4th planet," reported Commander Yexstar, his voice shaking. "The humans have some kind of new weapon that creates gravity traps." Admiral HFY had heard about this terrifying weapon. Dr. Lisa Martinez had been working day and night to create something special. With the help of physicist Ben Harper, she had built gravity well generators that could trap entire groups of ships in space. Ben Harper stood in his laboratory on Earth's moon, watching his invention work perfectly. "Lisa, look at this," he called to Dr. Martinez. "The gravity wells are holding 12 alien ships in place. They can't move at all." Dr. Martinez smiled as she watched the trapped Zephyrian vessels on her screen. "Now our gunners can destroy them easily. They're like sitting ducks." Captain Alex Turner, commanding the Earth's Pride, led his squadron toward the trapped alien ships. "All units target the helpless vessels. Fire at will." The human plasma cannons lit up space as they destroyed the trapped Zephyrian ships one by one. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. Meanwhile, Commander Jake Mitchell had been promoted to lead the entire human space fleet. His flagship, the Earth's Defender, was the largest ship humanity had ever built. He stood on the bridge, coordinating attacks from all across the solar system. "Commander, we have an opportunity," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Mary Johnson. "The alien command ships are isolated near Jupiter. If we strike now, we can cut off their leadership." Jake studied the battle map. "All ships, this is Commander Mitchell. We're going to attack their command vessels directly. This could end the war." 20 human warships raced toward Jupiter, where Admiral HFY's flagship and his remaining command vessels were trying to regroup. The human ships moved so fast that the aliens barely had time to react. Captain Steve Johnson, now commanding the warship Thunderstrike, spoke to his crew. "Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every world these aliens have conquered. Today, we make them pay." As the human fleet approached, something amazing happened. Intelligence officer Lisa Hayes, working from Earth's communications center, had been trying to hack into the alien computer systems for weeks. Finally, she succeeded. "I'm in," Lisa shouted to her team. "I've broken into their communication network." She quickly began sending false orders to the Zephyrian ships. Her commands made the alien vessels turn on each other, thinking they were receiving orders from their own admirals. "Fire on the ships to your left," Lisa transmitted, disguising her voice to sound like a Zephyrian commander. "Retreat to Sector 7 immediately," she ordered another group of ships. The result was chaos in the alien fleet. Zephyrian ships began firing on their own allies. Some vessels fled in different directions, breaking their defensive formations. Others stopped fighting, completely, confused by the conflicting orders. Admiral HFY realized what was happening. "Our communications have been compromised. The humans are controlling our ships." But it was too late. Commander Jake Mitchell's fleet had reached the command vessels. The human ships split apart into their smaller components, surrounding the alien flagship from all sides. "Admiral HFY," Jake Mitchell's voice came over the communication system. "This is Commander Mitchell of Earth Defense Forces. You have one chance to surrender." Admiral HFY looked around his bridge. Half his officers were dead or wounded. His ship was badly damaged. Most of his fleet was destroyed. For the first time in 500 years, the Zephyrian Empire was facing total defeat. "Surrender?" Admiral HFY's voice was filled with disbelief. "The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender to primitive species." "Then you'll share the fate of your fleet," Jake replied coldly. The human ships opened fire on the alien flagship. But instead of trying to destroy it completely, they targeted its weapons and engines. Within minutes, the Dark Conqueror was helpless, floating dead in space. On Earth, President Helen Walsh watched the final moments of the battle from the Situation Room. General Roy Carter stood beside her, a smile spreading across his face. Madam President, Admiral Zexhi's flagship is disabled. The remaining alien ships are requesting permission to surrender. President Walsh felt a wave of relief wash over her. Accept their surrender, General, but keep our weapons trained on them. Throughout the solar system, the few surviving Zephyrian ships powered down their weapons and submitted to human control. The great invasion fleet that was supposed to conquer Earth in a matter of hours had been completely defeated. Admiral Zexhi sat in his ruined command chair, staring at the human ships surrounding him. How had this happened? His empire had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had never faced resistance like this. Commander Jake Mitchell's ship docked with the alien flagship. Jake, accompanied by a team of Marines, boarded the Zephyrian vessel. When he entered the bridge, Admiral Zexhi looked up at him with a mixture of anger and respect. How? The alien admiral asked simply. Jake looked at the defeated alien commander. You made one fatal mistake. You told us you were coming. Admiral Zexhi's eyes widened with understanding. The intercepted message. His own invasion plans had given the humans exactly what they needed to defeat him. Every other world you conquered was caught by surprise, Jake continued. But we had 6 months to prepare. 6 months to turn our entire solar system into a fortress. 6 months to build weapons and train soldiers. Over the next few days, Jake learned more about the Zephyrian Empire from the captured aliens. They controlled thousands of star systems across the galaxy. But their conquests had always been easy because they attacked without warning. We will send word to the Zephyrian High Command, Admiral Zexhi said during his interrogation. They must know that Earth is not to be attacked again. Jake nodded. Make sure they understand. Earth is no longer a target. We're now a galactic power. Word of humanity's victory spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Other worlds that had been conquered by the Zephyrian Empire began to rebel, inspired by Earth's success. The empire that had seemed invincible was suddenly facing challenges everywhere. Dr. Lisa Martinez continued her work, but now she was developing technologies to help other worlds defend themselves. Earth began sharing its defensive knowledge with planets throughout the galaxy. The single intercepted message that had seemed like humanity's death sentence had become their greatest victory. Earth was no longer an isolated world hiding in the darkness of space. They had announced their presence to the galaxy as a force to be respected and feared. Commander Jake Mitchell stood on the observation deck of Earth's Defender, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there were thousands of worlds, some free and some enslaved. But now they all knew one thing for certain. Humanity was ready to defend freedom wherever it was threatened. The universe would never be the same.